so many grid quilting designs. Which one should I use? Hey guys, welcome back to Frances Quilts. If you have followed this channel at all this past year, you know that I have become obsessed with grid quilting designs. I tried orange peels, jigsaw puzzles, clamshells, you name it, I tried it. Then last month when I was at the International Quilt Festival, I kept seeing all of these quilts that had magnificent backgrounds that had been quilted with grid quilting designs. So I thought, I need to try that. This is a piece that I have started for a challenge in my guild. It's going to be something along this line as far as the shape. And I've pieced all of these fun little Dresden plate blocks ready to become my flowers for the challenge. My idea is to do some quilting back in here, to add some grid quilting in there to come down to where the flowers start. But the first question was, what design was I going to use? I did a whole bunch of practicing and came up with all of these designs. I mean, how would you ever pick from one of those? I finally picked out two designs that I wanted to use and decided to pick two different sizes. So part of it's going to be 1/2 inch and part of it's going to be 1 inch grid. I think it's going to look good. We'll just have to see. The first step was to layer up my sandwich, starting with the backing fabric and then a polyester batting. I added a wool batting on top of that and then my top piece. Now I needed to draw some grids. And I decided just to make a general outline of where I thought the flowers were going to be and where I wanted the grid quilting to stop. And I drew out my 1/2 inch grid. I'll just have to remember when I'm doing 1 inch, I'm going to cover 2 of those grids. Anyway, come with me now to the machine and let's do some quilting. At this point, I have done the majority of the quilting on this piece and I'm just finishing up the last corner. I'm quilting the orange peel design in the 1/2 inch grids. You can see the first step is to quilt to one side and then to quilt up that post and down and then to the next side, up the post and down and then over, jump over one more square and do each of the little posts, as I'm calling them, in between each of the grids. Then when I come to the end, I just arc my way back down, finishing up that design. I'm having to do a little bit of different movements here just to fill it in because this is kind of the last little section that I'm doing. So every once in a while, I'm throwing in an extra arc or two just to finish out the area and not have to come back to it again. So as I'm finishing that up, let's now switch to some of the larger arcs. Remember, at this stage, I am wanting them to be on a 1 inch grid, which means I have to skip every other line and just concentrate on the 1 inch markings rather than the 1/2 inch. Here we go. So doing an arc across like this, then up to the next one, back down, across to the next grid line, up to the top, back down, and across. I had to fill in a little a 1/2 inch one there. So now we're ready to come back and finish this row. Unfortunately, my hand gets in the way a little bit there, so we'll leave it there. But you can see that it was just a matter of following that grid all the way through and continuing the design. Well, amazingly, that did not take very long to quilt, and I'm so happy with the results. I think this is going to look wonderful as the basis for my flowers. Now, I realize that as I put the flowers on here, I may have to continue these grids down just a little bit to cover the area. And at some point, I have to decide where in all of this the grid quilting stops and just the regular quilting starts. But I'm having a lot of fun with this. The next step is to place the Dresden flowers on it and just keep playing. So be sure to subscribe so that you can come back for more and see this piece finished. And I'll leave a link to the grid quilting playlist so you can check out all of the videos on the grids. As always, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Frances Quilts. Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francesquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Frances Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.